I had started another project, but I decided to stop for a little bit and do a quick unboxing for these Make Market Diamond Art kits. These are from Michaels. I had never heard about Make Market, so I don't know if it's a Michaels brand or not. But anyway, I didn't want a big project. I didn't want to make something that I wouldn't use, maybe, potentially. I don't know. The older you get, I think you kind of get to a place where you think, I only want to buy things that I can use, and you find yourself getting rid of stuff that you don't need or don't use. So anymore, it's got to be something, if I'm buying something new, that I really want or I can use or give to somebody else that they can use. So I'm going to go ahead and open this. And this one is the Diamond Art Bookmark Kit. Now, they had some other ones, and I don't remember for sure what they all were, but I think bookmarks are always something that I could use, or I can give them away. I have friends and family who read a lot, and florals, kind of a sucker for florals, you know, florals and dogs, I think, animals anyway. But I'm going to go ahead and open this. And these are a very thick plastic. So I don't know, once you add the diamonds to it, how flat your book is going to be, you know, when you close it. So you get 3. And of course you get your kit. You get some instructions, because in order to finish it, you will have the 3 tassels to put on your bookmark. And these actually look like really pretty nice tassels. Let me pull that off, hopefully without messing it up. It's very soft. They're almost silky. Very shiny, very pretty. This is your legend, because obviously they can't put it on the bookmark itself. So they have to, you know, supply it some other way. You get your instructions, which look to be pretty decent instructions. I'd almost say better instructions than you get with some of the more expensive kits, to be honest. But yeah, but you get the instructions. It looks like maybe this is Spanish, so in English and Spanish. So this says gems can be repositioned after sticking. However, it's recommended to avoid repositioning when possible. And I would imagine that would be with any project, which is maybe why some project gems you lose some of the stickiness and they fall off. Maybe, you know, if you change them out or you use the wrong color and you're going to pick them off and put another color on. So that's probably a good thing to know. The contents of the pre-printed bookmark: tassels, pre-sorted diamond art gems, stylus grip cover, craft tray, wax caddy, and instruction sheet. And so the packet is fairly large, and you get that blue peel off, which I don't know why, I kind of like the blue better than the red, and you get 2 of them for only these 3. Bookmarks, get your bags, and these look like pretty large bags. You get your stylus, of course, with this handy dandy little grip on there, and your tray. So that's what you get in the kit. I will open the gems. And of course you can see there are 21 different colors for 3 bookmarks. Okay, well, you know, I will say that these gems look better than some of the others that I've seen in some of these other kits. Really pretty floral colors. Hope you can see that. My lighting. again, isn't great. The sun has been out a little bit here in the northwest, but if I let it in my windows, it's too much. So have to do some very strategic timing. But very pretty colors. I'd say these gems look really nice. And this is a Diamond Art coaster kit. Makes 4 coasters. Maybe I'll get it out. Something's stuck. There we go. It's the same brand, so I'm sure you're going to get the exact same supplies. I'm not going to open the bag, but you can see, and it looks like there are still 2 of your wax. These are the cork backings for the coasters. That's nice. So you get 4 of those, and they look to be all in good shape. Mostly. Yeah, I think so. I mean, good enough, for sure. But there is the legend for the coasters, and there are 30 colors. Instruction sheet. And your 4 coasters. Pretty, I think. Those will be fun to do. And I don't know if this says anything different for the coasters for taking care of them at the end. I was kind of hoping maybe they would recommend putting something on there to protect the gems, but it doesn't say anything about that. Care instructions. If the project becomes soiled during the working process, it can be cleaned by gently wiping with a soft damp cloth. Avoid scrubbing. When your project is complete, recover with plastic film and gently roll gemmed area with a brayer tool or rolling pin to secure the gems. I think the last time I tried to paint them with something, I think it was some kind of sealer that just didn't work very great, I don't think, on them. And I'm thinking these were around $10 each, I believe. Take a quick look at the colors, which were more colors than the bookmarks. And these, of course, look to be about the same. They look like really nice gems. I noticed on the last one that I did that the gems were just funky looking on top. They didn't look very uniform. There was some that was fairly odd shaped. I'm trying to remember now which one it was. I don't remember. But anyway, really pretty colors, 4 colors. And then this is the second one. Lots of white because of the background, I'm sure. Yeah, very nice. Okay, so those are the colors for the coasters. And it looks like the backs will be just a little bit smaller than the coaster itself. But still, I think pretty good. Okay. Well, I'm going to put these aside. I'm going to open up one of the bookmarks. I mean, they're, like I said, they're from the same company. I think they should be pretty much the same. Let's do this one. Bring out my legend, and I'm going to grab their tray, which is nice and large. I mean, it's a pretty decent sized tray. And if I can find where I pushed my there it is, my wax. So I'm just going to pull one of the waxes out, set it aside. I'm going to open one of them, get it off my finger. And some people might clean out the wax in their pen from the old project, but I usually don't worry too much about it. Let's see if I can peel off this bottom portion here. Okay. Oh, that is major sticky. That's probably more sticky than other things I've tried recently. That is really, really sticky. Okay, so looks like let's just start with these Z's, which are these very pretty light blues. These are really nice gems. I am impressed. They are very shiny. I don't see any of these that look not in uniform with the others. Very consistent. So the wax is working pretty good on here. And like it suggested, I'm going to try very hard not to reposition these. I'm going to get them on and call it good, I think. That's going to be tough to do if you're a little, picky on how you get your gems on. And they're going to probably move around a little bit too when you start getting the other colors on. It's just kind of the way that it works. But very pretty blue, very pretty blue. Whoop. Yeah, I need something better to hold that paper back. I mean, that's really pretty blue. And I don't know, we'll see if I can show you here in a second just how shiny those are. And see, inevitably, I got to move them around a little bit. That's just me. But they kind of feel like they are really sticking on the project. Like, I don't think they're going to come off. Sometimes you get one of these cheap projects and you can just move the gems around really easily. I think it was that dragon that I did that turned out really awesome, but they were able to move around really easily. These feel to me like they stick a little bit better. Very nice. Very nice. The other one that I did was just really difficult to use its little tray. I think it's user error, probably, which means me, right? And they don't want to flip around very much. Okay, so I'm going to continue to work on this, and then I will come back when this one is done. Okay, so I finished this one, and it is definitely much prettier than what you think it's going to be by looking at these. Of course, I think that's probably the way it always is with diamond paintings. I encountered the same issue I think I did with the dog Valentine's Day cards, especially like in here, where the circles that say what the code is are smaller than the diamonds. But, you just get them to fit in there. And then there were a couple places where I could stick an extra one in there just to fill up the space, and so I did that too. They're really nice diamonds. I was very impressed, and these are very, very shiny. I wanted to see how thick this is with the diamonds on, because I mentioned earlier, how that would fit in your book, depending on what you're using. And I would say it's probably a 1/16 of an inch thick, this is. And then you go with the diamonds, and I don't think the diamonds aren't a 1/16 of an inch thick. They're actually less than that. So overall, it's a little bit over a 1/16 inch for thickness on here. These are about 2 inches by 7 inches. So pretty decent size. And I'll just use the one that I had pulled out already. And my dog, my little rescue dog, she, when she drinks, she gags. I don't know whether you can hear her back there or not. I don't particularly like, I guess I want to say, Might find something to get that through the hole there. I'm trying to find if we have anything that's narrow enough to get it in there. But I will say that I'm not particularly fond of the color black. It's not one of my favorite colors in the world. I like pretty colors like pinks and purples. The thing too that I was going to say is the reason why I think there's so many colors is because there are no duplications, I don't think, much on the different colors. And so, like here, this little kind of yellow color was duplicated on this one and on this one. But none of these other colors are duplicated on these two bookmarks. And if you look at these, a lot of these are not duplicated on each other as well. I think that's why there are so many colors, and the backgrounds, like this blue, they're all different colors too. Anyway, what I was starting to say is I'm not really fond of black, and I know that doesn't stay on there very well. You might have a better way of doing that, but that's how I kind of learned before, and it's kind of what they show you here on how to get that on. But I think I would have liked it better, if, for me anyway, if I would have matched, like, I don't know, picked one of these colors, these pinks to put on here instead of this tassel, and then picked a color that was close to, you know, the colors that are on here as well. But I mean, if the black doesn't bother you, certainly, definitely use it, because I think they are pretty decent tassels. They just don't stay very tight, is what I want to say. And it might be because it's a shiny glossy thread versus like a regular cotton, which might have a better catch, I want to say, when you are putting it on your bookmark. So I grabbed a book. I know I just grabbed mine because it was handy. So yeah, it's a book that I wrote. It's a novel that's on Amazon. I don't go by the name Olivia Ambrose. I was playing with names and covers. And so I'm writing under the name of Charlotte Winward. If you're interested, you can take a look. It's on Kindle Unlimited, so if you have Kindle Unlimited. But anyway, I wanted to stick the bookmark in there and show you how thick that is in a book. Now, if that bothers you, then you definitely aren't going to like these bookmarks. So I think for practicality, I mean, this would bother me. But I like flat bookmarks so that it's, you know, see the difference? Quite a bit of a difference. And here are all three that are completed. Very shiny, very pretty, I think. I like this one the best. And I'm a pink gal. You'd think I'd pick this one. But this one I just like the best. And the colors definitely were much different in the diamonds than what they were showing on the pattern itself. But very shiny. And I may change these out at some point to a different color if I decide to use them. Otherwise, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them, because unless I'm just going to put a mark in a book that I'm doing on my desk if I'm working on a project or something. But for a regular reading book, I probably would never use them. But anyway, really pretty. So I'm going to get started on one of the coasters. And I think I'm just going to start on the sunflower. I did have a little bit of trouble with this wax, and usually I don't have any trouble with the blue waxes. In fact, I usually have less trouble with the blue wax than I do with the red. But for whatever reason, this wax I had a little more difficulty with getting it to stay inside my pen. But I had plenty, obviously, and I probably have enough in here to finish the 4 coasters as well. And then that leaves me a whole extra one. Actually, it'll leave me with a whole nother pack that I haven't even opened that I can use for other projects. So a lot of times you'll end up with a ton of wax that, you know, is just left over. And these are, I would say, the same thickness as the bookmarks. One of the things that I noticed too was like this you would never know was pink, because on the pattern this was blue. You can see it still in between here, the blue that's showing up between the pink. And I'm thinking it was this one, no, wasn't this one. I think it was mostly this one, where the colors you just would not have known what they were, but they did turn out much brighter than what they were, than what they looked like they were going to be. I think that I encountered maybe 2 or 3 little pieces like this. I don't know whether you can see it right here, this little one. I'll point to it, but this right here. Whoops, now I picked it up. So I did come across a few of those, but that was pretty much the only thing that was off on these diamonds. And there was a few in a few of the bags. It wasn't even in every single bag. Hope I got the right side here. Looks like it. So I can hang on to it, put a little piece in the corner. I've been getting a strange buzzing sound in my mic lately. I don't know. I didn't think I used to have it. So I don't know quite what the cause is. I try to get it to denoise, but that doesn't always happen. But these are sticking just as well as the bookmarks. I told you, I think before, that my dog, I don't remember, my little Cairn Terrier was diagnosed with diabetes. And that she is now insulin dependent. And we are trying to do the curves, which are called glucose curves. In people, sometimes they are called glucose tolerance tests, but it's pretty much the same thing. They test her blood every 2 hours. I take her in and she stays all day, and they test her blood every 2 hours. And we're having a little bit of trouble getting it regulated. And it's been a little bit of a challenge to make sure that I feed, my dogs. I have 3 of them, all of the food that they need, and get little Rosie's food and insulin on time. And it's like every 12 hours you have to give him a shot. And Rosie's pretty heavy, but she's lost like 3 pounds already. So I mean, she really shouldn't lose any more than 5, because she was heavy, which could have been my fault in ways, that she's diabetic. So I mean, you can go to the extreme and not feed your dog enough, or you can kind of do what I did. And I think it was less of how much she ate and more of not really exercising her. I just let her run around in the yard, and we'd throw the ball and that kind of thing. I may end up having to walk her in the mornings when the weather's nicer. See if I can help her a little bit. But I know a lot of it is genetics, they say, for diabetes in dogs. And then, you know, of course, and obesity. So that could be, again, my fault. And so I'm living with that guilt in ways that you can't imagine. But I mean, it's you know, we think of our dogs as kind of like our children. And if you imagine you hurt your child, you know, or caused an illness to your child, and how you would feel. And I know people think that might be ridiculous, but people who love their dogs, understand. I mean, it's not as bad. I mean, I would certainly think much worse if it was my actual child, but it's still the same context when you think you hurt your dog. And so she's kind of going through this, and she's handling the shots pretty well. And I haven't been perfect on them, meaning I have a time like between 6 and 7 every morning because she has to eat and get her shots every 12 hours. And then at 6 and 7 at night. And you know, you have to play with that on how that will work for you, as long as you get it within that time frame, because you really can't extend that. The other thing is my other dogs. And now all my dogs eat differently. They eat different food and different times in a way. And I've tried to work towards moving them all to eating at the same time, but they still don't all get the same food. And so my larger dog, which doesn't get as much of the good canned food that you can feed a smaller dog because they're more expensive, doesn't get as much of the canned food, and she just doesn't understand. And so I've got this, I feel bad every time I can't give her what I give the other dogs. But anyway, it was the only way I could get Rosie to eat in the mornings. I mean, we get up in the morning, she's just not used to eating at that time frame, but I knew she would eat the canned food. There were many times during the day, and normally she would hold out and not eat and wait for the canned food, unless she just got really, really hungry, and then she would go eat the dry food, which I left out all the time. Now, it was getting to the point where I was not feeding them as much. I was trying to help them to lose weight. So I had been doing that prior to the diabetes, and she had lost, I think, a pound is all, by the time I had taken her in, because I was concerned about her urine. And so I took her urine in and thought, I was hoping, I think I mentioned it before in one of the videos, that it was just a UTI or something going on with her. Anyway, so this week we have our third curve, and you have to know that these curves are around $188 every single time you have to do a curve to regulate their insulin, to find the amount that they're on, to find the amount that they should be on. And so when they were talking about sometimes the initial cost of a diabetic dog is high, most of it has to do with the curve. So the insulin is around $85. I think the insulin is around $85. And it should last you about 6 to 8 weeks, a couple months maybe, depending on how much insulin they're getting, because it comes in this little tiny bottle. And then her needles, I think, are around 50, and you get 100 in the box. But she takes the shots pretty well. I mean, she doesn't like it. I show her the needle. I say, we need to take your shot, and she'll jump up on the chair. But Caring Terriers are stocky dogs. They naturally, they're kind of wide at the shoulder. I think they were bred for catching rats. So there's not a lot of excess skin on her hips, but there is around her shoulders. So I've just been alternating left and right shoulder, and I keep hoping that as she loses weight, there'll be a little extra skin on her hip, and I can alternate it, you know, every fourth time in a shoulder instead of every other time, which, you know, I think would get a little sore after a while. But because you gotta, you know, you gotta pull the skin apart, you gotta pinch the skin and pull it apart, and then there's a little divot in there, I guess, a little soft spot that is like empty space is what it feels like between the meat of her body and her skin, and that's where the shot goes. And the needles are really sharp and not very long, so that's good too. But it was a learning curve, and there's days I'm not perfect on it either. But I mean, there are a couple of times I accidentally poked her, and I poked her twice in that one time. Man, she let me know that, and I felt terrible about it. And then one time I poked my thumb. Thank God I didn't, inject the needle in there and give myself insulin. But, I mean, knowing me and my hands, that definitely could have happened. But it's been, yeah. I mean, anybody who probably has a diabetic animal, dog or cat, knows, the trauma that kind of goes with that and the worry. And making sure, that you get her shots and her insulin on time. And sometimes that's hard. I mean, your whole life then becomes around a diabetic dog. And at this stage of the game, she gets really hungry between 12 hours. I think 12 hours between feedings is a really long time, but that's what they recommend because of the shots. But I give her a little bit less in the mornings and the evenings, and then let her have a much smaller kind of 6-hour mark snack. It's not really a meal, but it's a little something to kind of carry her over to the 12 hours. And it's most of the time it's just protein and a little bit of fiber. So that's generally what I give her at the 6-hour mark. But as I was starting to say, I take her back in on Friday, this Friday again, for another curve, and this will be the third one. So, $600 for 3 curves. I mean, thank goodness for Care Credit, right? I mean, there's some people, I'm sure, that can just afford to take care of their dogs in the manner in which everyone would probably love to take care of their dogs. But, I mean, that's why, people who don't have access to Care Credit or whatever, their dogs just aren't taken care of. And I wish, health care for your pet was more reasonable. I wish they had better ways for people to take care of their animals in their health care. There'd be a lot more, I would say, more healthy animals out there. But, it is nice to see when you go in, there are people who love their animals. And in a lot of ways, it makes up for all the terrible things that you see, like when I would Uber and see things and turn it in. But anyway, she's happier now. I mean, we've adjusted her insulin now 3 times. Hopefully we don't have to do it again, but we may. Anyway, yeah, so this is sticking just as well as the other one, of course. I think the brand is a good brand. I'm going to go ahead and finish this one and then show you the others. So I will say, too, that these go really fast. I finished these in just a few hours. They went really quickly. So I imagine these will go pretty quick as well. I finished the sunflower. Turned out very pretty. There were some colors on this one that was duplicated, and this one with a little bit of duplication, but not much. The other thing that I will say is I goofed. I mean, that's the only way I can say it. In this light, I can see that there is a definite difference between these 2 colors. I mean, it's subtle, but it's still there. It's enough of a variance that if you were working like these shades here in the sunflower, it would be really noticeable. How noticeable the edges would be if I'd use this lighter yellow on the sunflower, I don't know. But it still turned out okay. What happened was these yellows out here were, I think, P and R. And my eyes just didn't catch it in my light. And my new glasses, I didn't catch the difference between the P and the R, and the colors on the pattern were just so similar. I just didn't see it. I was lucky enough because the diamonds from this particular brand were, I want to say, substantially generous. So I had plenty of diamonds. Now, if it was a larger project or there was a much larger discrepancy between 2 colors, you know, you'd have to make that decision. But because also these were coasters and they kind of stressed in the instructions, you don't want to have to move a diamond around or take one off and put another one on. Once you stuck the diamond on, you really needed to leave it. And if it was a picture that was behind glass and, you know, there would be protection to hold the diamonds in, you know, that would also come into play. But again, because they're coasters and it wasn't that much, I just let it go. But maybe watch for that. The other thing I might say is if you're doing something round, I would definitely do the outside of like these white diamonds first before you start working inside. So what I did was I started in this section and I would go to about here and then I'd fill it in. And then I'd turn it and I'd go to about here and then I'd fill it in. And that way I think you do a much better job at keeping closer to the circle edge and keeping it more circle than like over here on these. You know, some of the edge got a little bit wonky. It had to do with, you know, having to finagle the diamonds in because the little symbols weren't as large as the diamonds. And it was very similar with this, but I don't think as bad. I'm going to go ahead and peel this off. Feels pretty sticky. And I'm going to just put this on the back. Gonna eyeball it, probably not gonna be perfect, but you know, it's the bottom. Sticks really well. Great. I'm gonna finish the others and show you what they look like. I finished the coasters. I am assuming that this is probably a peony, would be my guess. Obviously this is a rose, this must be a pansy. And of course the sunflower. And I put the backs on. I think that, you know, overall I like these. Much better than I liked the ones that I got off of Amazon. I can't remember. Maybe they were Christmas or Thanksgiving coasters. Maybe they were Halloween. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look again. But I do like them. I think I will definitely use them.